Welcome.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. We are all so very excited to have you. You just got here yesterday, right? So, and this is your 11th time visiting Korea. Tell us how it feels this time.
That feels amazing. Every time I come, I just feel very welcomed and warm. The other night when we arrived, I went out and of course I had to have Korean barbecue. So I went to a great place, great restaurant, and then just walked around and said hello to everyone around the area. It's been really good.
That's wonderful.
It's been very special, especially during this time because making the film with this cast, to have them here, we're all very excited about tonight to present the film to everyone. We talk about these moments and what it's like to come to this country and be here, so it's very special. It's always very special. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, so I want to start off by asking you, it's incredible to see your filmmaking accomplishments over the year, to say the least, over your career. And so we want to know what motivates you to continue making movies.
I just have an absolute passion for storytelling. It's something that I've wanted to do since I was 4 years old. Make movies, and I wanted to travel the world. When you see my films, it's really encompasses a whole life. I spent most of my life in rented houses and hotels, and I always wanted an adventurous life, and it's something that I feel very privileged to be able to do it. And it is a passion for life, a passion for storytelling. I never went to a formal education for film or acting. I've studied it. I was lucky the first films that I auditioned for I got since I was 18. And I would go and I studied every single department on the film. And I just studied it, and that's what I did on every single movie. And I grew up watching films. I had jobs cutting grass or, all kinds of jobs. I had a lot of odd jobs where I'd just go up and shovel snow out of people's driveways to make money. And then I would go to the movies. And so then when I was 18 years old, I went to New York. And I started auditioning for films, and actually the first film I auditioned for I got, and the next film I auditioned for, I got the role. But I would also, as a kid, I would write characters and create skits, and I would create different kinds of characters to entertain my family or friends. So there was always that storyteller that was there in me.
Thank you. And with every new mission film, it's so obvious that you always raise the bar. So could you tell us, how have you made Dead Reckoning Part 1 your biggest mission film yet?
Well, it was really Christopher McQuarrie, who he'll come out shortly. He came and he said, I said, do you want to do another one? He said, sure. And he said, I want to do 2 movies, because always the stories that we have, the film is so big and the stories are so vast that he said, let's do 2. So I said, okay, let's break it off into 2. And then we just go back and forth on the kind of environment that we want. If you look at my films, they celebrate cultures and geography. And that's Mission Impossible, which was the very first film. The first Mission Impossible was the first film that I ever produced. And now here we are all these years later. So that's what happened, essentially. We come up and look at geography, and we're looking at, what's that story going to tell us? So and also we wanted, when you look at this mission, what it's encompassing, the kind of, I also felt that the whole series could earn this moment, earn this level of scale of storytelling and scale of action, and not just for my character, but for the entire cast.
And speaking of scale, we cannot not talk about the amazing stunts. And so we all saw the incredible motorcycle jump. How much work does it go into pulling something off like that? I can't imagine.
It's, doing a stunt like that, it's also, we're both focused, McHugh and I are focused on story. What story we're going to tell. Finding, look, I fly airplanes, helicopters, jets, warbirds. I parachute. You'll see. I guess we're going to show speed flying that I do, and so that it's really decades of ability that is then focused to be able to do something like this. So I broke this. What I do is I'll break things down so that I'm very competent and capable at it, so that we had to really figure out, had to train, do extra training and parachuting and, you know, unstable positions at very low altitudes so that I would recover quickly. Just more training on motorcycles. I've ridden motorcycles since I was a kid and jumped and stuff, so, but never off a ramp and off a cliff in Norway. And McHugh and I, we had to, you know, we found the place and something that's incredibly visual. He's a very elegant storyteller, Christopher McQuarrie, has an amazing eye, so it's finding that location. And then essentially looking and building the ramp. So all of these pieces came together, and I broke it up into pieces because when I'm doing the jump, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I only have a few seconds before I have to open the parachute. And you can see on the internet, the longer version, when I'm testing, when I'm jumping out of the helicopter and I'm testing, because I'm going down into a bowl, and there's all kinds of turbulence there, and you can see I opened a little, just shoulder high, just very subtle, and as I opened, the parachute, it turned me into the side of the cliff. So you can see I open and it goes inside the cliff. I recovered, but those are the things that I have to worry about as I'm going across the ramp. I'm worried about that helicopter coming across and blowing me off the ramp before I get to the end. Once I depart the ramp, it's also the separation from the motorcycle, and to keep my body in a position where I'm not going to go into a tumble. I then have to hold on long enough so that all the cameras can catch me falling, and then I have to open, obviously, before I hit the ground. And then don't hit the side of the mountain and try to make it back. Try to make it back. And so all of these things, I'm also, at the beginning, it's all one shot, and so I'm performing, I'm acting and thinking about story and character. So, but I'm also, when I'm doing things like this, I'm fully aware of all the cameras around and every aspect. And McHugh and I have spent a lot of time, and it's also where to put the camera. How do you film these things? So it's not just something you can see on the internet, but that invests an audience in story.
Thank you so much. I mean, that sounds absolutely incredible, and I'm very happy that we are coming to the next plot, where you know that you've prepared a never-before-seen exclusive featurette to share with the Korean press today. It's a clip that's being shown for the first time in the world, so let's first take a look at the speed-flying featurette, and then we will invite you back on stage to talk more.
Sure.
Thank you. Just goes to show how much work, focus, and dedication go into creating a mission film. And now to talk a little bit more in depth, we'll have Tom Cruise again and director Christopher McQuarrie.
Yeah, speed flying's fun. It's a great sport. Very elegant sport.
Very dangerous too, I assume?
Yes, of course.
All right, so welcome, and Director McQuarrie, it's so great to have you join us here. I would like to start by asking both of you. So you have worked on so many projects together over the years.
Every film I've made for the past 16 years.
Every film, wow, that is...
Every film, whether he's credited as a writer, you know, he's worked on every single film.
Right.
Both of us together. We spend a lot of time. Our lives are about waking up and talking about movies and stories, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to do.
That's wonderful, which is why I'm sure you refer to him as your creative brother, as I've seen in your interviews. Yes,
very much.
Right. And so after all these years, I would like to hear, what is it that you enjoy so much about working with each other?
I would say probably the reason we work so well together is we both really care first and foremost about the audience's experience. That's really what it's about. We love movies, we love cinema, and we just love entertaining an audience.
How about you, Tom?
Yeah, and we just have a lot of fun doing it. And it's something that we constantly are not taking any of this for granted. That we're always thinking of that audience, and it's something that we just see eye to eye with those things. And I admire his talent. I admire him as a person, as an artist, and we have a lot of fun together creating. It's fun, and we enjoy the process together.
Always learning.
Always. We're always studying, always learning, always challenging ourselves.
That's so inspiring.
I've been doing this a while. So
for a while, yes.
You never know it all, unfortunately, but fortunately.
Wow. And being the creative brothers that you are, Chris, I would like to ask you, what goes through your mind when you're tasked with bringing one of the most dangerous stunts ever created to the big screen?
Bring Tom to Earth safely. That's pretty much it.
And shoot it so it makes sense.
Yes, and make sure it was worth doing.
Make sure it was worth doing.
And in the case of something like the skydiving, I'm just staring at the crosshairs on the monitor and waiting to see his parachute. That's really it's kind of an out-of-body experience.
Do you ever get scared watching him do it?
No. We are so focused on safety and execution, and there are so many departments functioning together so synchronously that you really don't have time to think about that. Plus, we've been doing it a long time, so that really doesn't enter into it. We have an expression we say all the time: "Don't be careful, be competent." But if you're thinking too much about what could go wrong, that's where your focus is. So we're always focused on the positive, and we're focused on everything that could go wrong.
But the pressure's there. I mean, the pressure's there in just making a movie anyway. And the pressure is absolutely there. It's not something that, as I said, we don't take it for granted. There's a relief when it's done.
Yes.
There's a relief that we got it. And that it's captured on screen. So there's pressure. There's a tremendous pressure and nerves. And when we're doing things, I like to keep things because very relaxed. So we always go to work together in the morning, and we're talking about story. So it's never we just treat each day just like another day of the pressure of making a movie. And so we also have another saying, which is pressure is a privilege.
Wow.
So look, in making any movie, there's just a tremendous amount of pressure, and we're looking for our story, we're finding our story. And it's just day to day. So and I don't want him to worry about it. So I never tell him half the stuff. It's like,
I find out later.
He finds out later what happened, and I'm like, you don't need to know this stuff. Later we'll talk about it. It's all right. Don't worry.
Oh, that's lovely. Switching gears a little bit, so there seems to be a lot of emotion and humor in this movie. Why was that important for the movie? Chris?
To me, that is the reason for making the movies. The action and the stunts, all of the spectacle, they don't matter if you're not invested in the characters, invested emotionally in the story, and that's really what it comes down to for us.
And it's humanity. We want a big screen adventure. We're looking at how cinema has developed. We're using all of our skills, me as an actor, as a producer, storyteller, together, and all of our cast in a manner that is as entertaining as possible for the audience. So every film I've made since I was 18 years old, and you kind of go, okay, now I'm going to use all of these skills and I'm going to push into the next. How we're using motion on such a large scale, action on such a large scale, that's developing character. And when you have that kind of structure of tension, you can have humor, and you can have great humor and great drama, and you can have character development. So when you see, what's amazing to me is the scale of our chase in Rome. Just getting those locations that we have for brief moments, and to be able, when you look at the movie, they're playing in a two-shot. We're not editing back and forth. This is, and you look at Haley and I, you look at that performance that is it's right there on screen. That's happening, and it's immediate. That's not green screen. It is practical action. It is live. It is immediate, and you're going to get that kind of character spontaneity that I like in movies. That it's unexpected, and those are the things that we're looking for.
Great. You mentioned Rome.
I want humor. I want action. I want humor. I want, you want people.
I want everything.
I want everything.
Everything. And you mentioned Rome, so which leads me to my next question. You shot all over the world for this movie. What location were you most excited to shoot in? Was it Rome for you, Tom?
I have to say every location. We get excited about every single place we go. I love to travel. I love not just being a tourist, but I want to work in those environments. So we're scouting the cities. We get to see the world that people don't get to see, because also we're working elbow to elbow and shoulder to shoulder with local crews, and we spend a lot of time educating those local crews on how we make movies, because the technology and the things that we're doing in these films, I've studied films all the way back to the origins of cinema, and he and I have applied, we've created knowledge, and we've also studied old techniques and applied them. So we want this art form to carry on. So when we're working with production companies, we're teaching them. And also, we get excited about going to these places. So we like to travel. His whole family likes to travel. So we're very excited about all of them. Norway was spectacular. Rome was spectacular.
Venice.
Abu Dhabi was amazing.
Abu Dhabi.
These are places that we've always wanted to shoot and celebrate. So, and it has that journey, cinematic journey for an audience. I want them to feel like they've traveled and had an experience when they see these films.
I'm sure that's what all of the audience is going to feel. So thank you so much to the both of you. And we've
Thank
heard,
you, Haley.
Thank you. And we've heard from director Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise himself, the unstoppable masterminds of the Mission series. And now it's time for us to meet the amazing cast that bring that dream to life. So please welcome the cast of Dead Reckoning Part 1, Haley Atwell, Simon Pegg, Vanessa Kirby, and Tom Clementia.
This is a great cast, enormously talented, very dedicated and hardworking. I guess you're supposed to do the photos at the end. We went rogue.
Yeah.
That's the nature of this team. We go rogue all the time.
The more photos, the better. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All right, so thank you everyone and welcome to the stage and also to Korea. All right, so I'd just like to let you know that I will be asking the pre-prepared questions to everyone, and then we will give enough time to the floor for the press to ask questions directly. So I would like to start with you, Haley. Could you tell us...
Her name's Haley also.
Ah, okay.
Haley.
Hi, Haley. Hello, Haley. Nice to meet you. So I want to ask you, what is the best thing about being in a Mission movie?
That's such a big question. Where to begin? I think there is so much, it's so meticulous in its preparation and its study and its discipline and its focus. So you come onto a Mission Impossible set and, led by Tom and McHugh, it sets this bar where everyone comes and they thrive. They are encouraged to collaborate and make creative choices and see what lands for the audience. So as well as it's beautifully planned out and prepared, there's a lot of opportunity to try new things and was searching and finding the thing that we think the audience will love the most. So it's a wonderful feeling of collaboration.
That's lovely, thank you. And I want to ask you, Simon, this is your 5th mission outing. Could you tell us how Benji has evolved over the years?
Well, I mean, Benji started out as a sort of lab technician, you know, and decided to join the field program and become a member of the IMF. And really, that's kind of when McHugh joined the family, because he came on board as a writer in Ghost Protocol. So we sort of, with Tom, been able to evolve the character together, which has been really fun. You know, he's gone from being a very enthusiastic little puppy of a guy to being a more sort of mature, capable agent. He loves Ethan, obviously. You know,
Who loves Benji? Everyone loves Benji, right?
Everyone loves Benji, right? But I think it's a real privilege as an actor to get to play a character many times and get to evolve, work on what's gone before. I try and always approach him to think, what's he just been through, and build on that. And I couldn't think of 2 more sort of brilliant creatives to do that with. So yeah, he's grown up.
We all have a lot of fun together working.
I think that shows on screen.
Yeah, and we admire, I just admire them tremendously. Each one is so uniquely talented, and it's really fun to go every day. They constantly surprise us. We have a lot of fun. They're amazing.
That's amazing to hear as well. My next question is to you, Vanessa. And so this is your 2nd mission film. And what do you love about the franchise? We'd love to hear.
You know, for me, I just love that they're all real human beings. They're people that you feel you could bump into on the street, or people you know, and I think because of that, I've always admired what Tom does with Ethan. Is it feels like it could be any one of us. You know, somehow it's a man caught in something, trying to do the right thing, stumbling on the way, flawed, and therefore becomes a hero, I think, because of that, rather than being kind of supernaturally, inaccessible somehow. And I think he's always encouraged all of us to play many things at one time. So it's never, this is, this character and this character, they all have vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and therefore it becomes a performance piece, really, in the height of this huge movie. And I don't know what else you could want as an actor.
That's good to hear. And I want to ask you, Pom. And so, you excitedly newly joined the Mission series. And how excited was it for you to step onto a Mission movie set for the first time?
I feel like a devil right now. But I'm a villain, so it's great. It was so exciting. It was one of my dreams, actually, to be in Mission Impossible. And I remember at an interview in London, they said, how was it to work on Mission Impossible? And I said, it was a dream come true. I was like, oh, sorry, come true. But it sounds like the same Tom and come true. So that was my dream. I saw the first movie when I was, maybe 11, on a tiny screen in black and white. The TV was barely working. I was blown away by the movie. And it was my dream to be part of the franchise. So thank you, Tom and McHugh.
Thank you. You're amazing. All of you are.
Oh, that's so beautiful to hear.
They're amazing. The kind of work that you have to do to make these films, we sit down with everyone beforehand and go, this is how we make these films. And first of all, I don't make a movie just to make a movie, and it takes a tremendous amount of discipline and dedication to be able to accomplish anything in life. And now we're going through and making a Mission movie. It is physical. There's a fun process of going through these things, and I have to say, when you see this talented group of artists and the dedication that they bring to their craft and to this film, I speak for McHugh and I, every day we're just very grateful that we go in the editing room and look at them, and I just, look, they're my friends, I admire them, so it was very special.
Thank you for that. And Haley, we cannot not talk about that amazing, memorable car chase. So, and handcuffed to Tom, out of that, right? So, in the streets of Rome, what was that like to shoot? Could you share with us?
Well, we nicknamed the car Trixie because quickly established she had a mind of her own and that she would respond to any slight adjustment of the wheel. So I thought it's such a funny setup, you know, that Ethan Hunt is undermined by a Fiat 500. That gives you a sense that totally in this movie there's going to be great levity to it. We trained, or I trained, Tom's, as we all know, such an accomplished athlete and stuntsman, and I had to learn how to drift. So I spent 5 months in the UK doing that. And it's a very different setup when you're learning the mechanics and the theory behind it on a racetrack in the UK, but then having to take it on location to somewhere like Rome, these cobbled streets, beautiful old buildings, surrounded by many cast and crew, and the new level of obstacles that you come your way because of it, it propels you into this hyper-vigilance of wanting to make sure that you're getting it, you're being precise and mechanical with what you're doing, but that I've had the foundation of the training in me, so I know I can do it safely. So I hope it's fair to say I'm probably a more competent driver than Grace appears in the film. In order to portray a sense of recklessness, you can't be reckless as an actor. And so playing with that kind of paradox was so much fun, and then just being able to, so much of that car chase sequence is in a two-shot between Ethan and Grace, and so it's the wonderful challenge is to be present with each other in every single moment, so that we're working very much together, despite that there are two characters who are at times totally exasperated by each other, but the pressure and the circumstance and the story has forced them together in a small space.
You did an amazing job, because we're the way McHugh and I work, we're looking at the performance, we're looking at our character, we're developing that character. So when you're seeing these stunts, we might only have that road for 20 minutes. So we know as a producers, McHugh and I know we have this amount of time and we need the performance. We need her performance. So I'm...
Right now.
Right now. Like, you have to deliver that performance right now, and we're playing and writing, so there's times where he'll give me a line and we'll throw it off, like he'll be, so you're looking at that for that spontaneity. It's not just doing stunt, you're acting as we're going along at high speed. So that kind of training that we do, and I oversee all of their programs. Like, I help build their programs to get them to a place where they're comfortable with me, personally and as an actor, and in the race car with me, in those cars, in these kinds of environment. We're there with other cars coming at us, and you have to also be very safe. And so it takes a tremendous amount of concentration. It's when people start to act and they're doing stunts, that's where,
concentration and trust.
Yes.
That's really the thing. I have to be in the car with somebody else driving while you're acting. It takes an enormous amount of faith and trust.
You have to get the performance, you have 20 minutes, or 15 minutes, or one more take, and that's it.
And most of the time, there is no preparing for it. We watch the performance and say, this line would be better, or try this as an idea. So much of what you're seeing is improvising.
I feel like I'm getting out of breath just listening to it.
And when you're seeing, like, the thing about Haley in this car chase, and when McHugh and we were casting Haley, she invites that kind of tone for Rome. So when we use motion as an action as a compression for character development. So you're looking at how we're bringing these characters together and pulling them apart. And unless you're invested in the characters, I'm not interested in action unless I'm invested in the story and the characters. So that's all the time that we're looking. What story does it tell? What story does Haley bring? What story does each actor bring to it?
Wow.
Simon and Vanessa and Paul.
So Simon, I actually want to ask you, speaking of these amazing stunts, can you tell us, what does your face look like when Tom is doing one of his infamously amazing, crazy stunts? Do you have to look away, or how does that
It's
go?
very pale, usually. I know Tom is diligent. I mean, when it comes to the preparation for these stunts, one thing Tom is not is reckless. He's incredibly careful. And so I know that every single thing has been covered in the build-up to the stunt. I know that this is the safest place to do this. I know he's got the best people around him. He will generally train to be the best in the world at what he has to do before he does it. So all of that is there when we're doing those stunts. There is always the possibility of an unknown thing. That's always going to be hovering there. So yes, we do get very nervous. And I remember the day that Tom rode off the cliff. We were terrified. And I've got a video of it on my phone, which I've been told I'm allowed to post after the film comes out. And I'm standing with Haley Palm and Tarzan, and Tom goes off, and there's this big silence, and then we hear he's okay, and then we all just burst out laughing, but the laughter is incredibly hysterical and nervous, like you can tell how relieved we are that everything's okay. But
I never saw that video. I never saw that.
I'll show it to you. I've got to work on it. I'll show you later.
But also he did it like 7 times in a row, I think, or 8 times in a row.
Yeah. By the end, I was just like, oh, whatever.
It was fun. But I remember the first times every time I did it.
We all remember the first time.
Yes. And as you're going, you can't get casual about it. You just have to keep focused because, yeah, it's intense.
We're all going to be waiting very diligently for that video. And Vanessa, I would like to ask you, so you also do a lot of intense physical action in this film as well. Were they fun to film, and also how do you train for those scenes?
Yeah, I remember I'd never been around a lot of stunts, and I knew that on Fallout, the last movie, I trained, I loved it. I'd never ever understood physicality in my body before. And it's a gift of doing these movies that it just requires you to have that relationship with yourself, which is a lifelong gift as well. I always say to Tom, it's changed my life. But I remember in that first fight that I watched Tom do, I realised it's not stunts, it's balletic. It's ballet in some ways. It's an art form. It's not, pulling off some tough guy action stuff. It's dancing, and because you don't make contact, but you have to look like you're making contact, and that's athleticism of a sort of balletic nature in a way that I'd never experienced. And then doing that stunt with Tom, I realised I was working with the master of it.
But I'd have to tell you, the moment that you came up with in Fallout, I love this moment. We're fighting in the club. This is in Fallout, and we're in the middle of this action. And, the whole way we designed it was Ethan's doing the action, and suddenly Vanessa, the White Widow, surprises, and she can take care of herself. And you see that evolution of the character that you think she's letting Ethan help her, and then she saves Ethan, and she just looks at him, and you have this look, and you did it. You just embodied it. Your physicality is amazing. I had no idea that you weren't an athlete or you didn't feel that kind of thing because you were so natural. And she gives us this look at McHugh and I were like, that look in Fallout where she's just looking at Ethan like, isn't this fun? We're like, oh my gosh. We were around that video monitor afterwards. We're like, this is, what an actress to be able to.
That was the character in one
yeah,
look.
And we're always looking for motion that defines character. And we want the actors, we're studying the actors, we're studying the way they move, that it's not just mechanical, it's not just, you want their personalities to come through, that they feel so confident in emotion, and you want that character to come alive. And that's what we're always looking for, like where is it? Where's that lightning in a bottle? And you created that moment, and still to this day, I'll never forget how McHugh says, come here, he calls me over, he's like, did you see that? I said, yes, I saw that moment, it's amazing. Where she just looks at it. That's the stuff that we're looking for, that kind of, those moments that we're looking for. So thank you. No.
Thank you, Tom. I don't know if I told you this, but I was always last in the running race at school. And now I don't think I would be, thanks to you. Quite cool. I made it, I'm cool.
Oh, that's beautiful, and I remember that one. That was the moment I think we all kind of fell in love with that character.
I know, it is. It is the moment you're going, oh my, and that's exactly it. What's amazing in cinema is when you have brilliant actors like these guys, the moments that they create, like Simon Pegg, he can have the emotion that he brings underneath, always with, from the beginning, and I know you say he was just, always from the beginning, I admired his work from Shaun of the Dead, and when he said he wanted to make Mission, I was so happy that he has a pathos underneath that he's a real person. I'm invested in that character. He's me, in the audience. So I just really...
There's always great drama in the midst of that. There's great
Always.
emotion in the midst of that.
He can play
It's a
drama
sneak
and
attack.
comedy and character stuff. That range is just always amazes me, and it's fun. And he just brings it. Like, you should see him on set. It's just like boom, boom, boom.
Are you blushing?
It's true though. Simon, he just brings it in a manner.
This is to make up for being pale.
Yes. This is the other color Tom basically is red.
It's true.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. And I want to ask you, Pom, do you ever feel like you're fully prepared to be a part of a mission series? Did you know what you were getting into, is what I'm asking.
Great question.
Great question, Haley. Pom.
You have to be ready for the impossible. You have to be ready to just jump and go for it. So, but again, there's so much training behind it. And actually, I know you know when I say that story, but I was even like training before getting cast in the movie because it was my dream to be in Mission Impossible.
I love this story.
So I would train martial arts with a martial artist called Jason Noviello, and he taught me how to punch, how to kick, and sometimes even in my schedule, instead of writing martial arts training or stunt training in my phone, in my schedule, I would write Mission Impossible because I wanted to manifest it. And then it happened. And then I got to do this fight scene with Tom, which was, I mean, I don't know how I can top doing a fight scene with Tom Cruise in an action movie, you know? So...
Do another one.
I know. I must say to everyone, this is how you do it, okay? When I was a kid, I'd write goals on my wall. And I'd write a goal, and then I would figure out what do I have to do to attain that goal? What steps do I need to do? And it's very inspiring, and Pom did not tell us this story for a couple of years.
I don't want to sound like a freak or a stalker.
Pom, you're not a freak or a stalker because I admire you.
You know, I trained hard, I was like, I'm ready.
She trained so hard, and then she auditions and didn't tell us. And has created this incredible character, but it's inspiring because that's what she did, and she created it. She made this happen for herself to be a Mission Impossible. You have to put it out there. And what you do is she's trained for it, and if you build it, they will come. So she trained for it, and she made it happen. I think it's a very inspiring story, and she worked so hard, and you were amazing with that. Like, you see what Pom does, all the moments for this movie, they weren't written. Her doing the heart on the glass, okay? The whole makeup that she has in the club. The characters, like each one of these actors just keeps creating those moments that I want audiences to know. That is the stuff that, and what I admire about Christopher McQuarrie, the first time that I worked with him, he sees actors and he can write for actors. He's not just writing a script and trying to fit, bless you. I know someone's sneezing, bless you. That someone is fitting into that performance. He understands that film is alive. It has a life, and you have to be willing to change something if it's not working, and you have to be willing to celebrate the actors that you're working with. And if you look at the origins of cinema, you had these great actors, and they wrote for them. They delivered them to an audience in a manner that is cinematic, that is visual storytelling. And he understands that, and he appreciates that. And that is my school of cinema. That's how I learned how to do it. But I just really admire that, Pom. And it's inspiring, and it is the way to do things. You have to do it. Do you mind?
You inspire us always, you know, and we have to even like do it better, you know. We have to be at the top of our game when we're with you. So, you know, it's infectious.
You know, it was an honor to hear that. I love doing our fight together. Okay.
So much fun.
It was
very hard and
it was a very
technical.
tough fight in that small thing. It was very tight and very tough. And every day, that fight was, what she did was extraordinary.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and New, do you mind me telling the story about Vanessa Redgrave?
Please.
Do you mind? I love these stories. Do you all mind? Do you have a minute? Can I tell this story? Do you mind? So these are the things that, you know, we don't hear till later. And it's like Haley's an actress that we've been watching for many years, and we wanted to work with her. And now we're working with New, also enormously talented. And she tells us this story, and that she had a namesake was Vanessa Redgrave, and Vanessa Redgrave was in Mission 1, an actress that I greatly admire. And so it was its inspiration for her to become an actress. She always wanted to become an actress. There's Vanessa Redgrave. So now she's making Mission, and when you're 12 years old, you see her in theater. and you tell Vanessa Redgrave that you want to be an actress. And Vanessa Redgrave says, and you will be. Is that what she said? It's so beautiful, 12 years old. She goes backstage in England, and now, all these years later, she makes Mission Impossible, and Vanessa is Vanessa Redgrave's, playing Vanessa Redgrave's daughter in the film that McHugh came up with while we were shooting the film.
In post.
In post, you came up with it, in post-production. So I love these kinds of stories, that here is this brilliant actress who's inspired by, you know, the older generation, and look what they've accomplished. So, just thought you all would enjoy these little tidbits of mission knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those stories. Please step up to the center of the stage. Let's start with looking to your left. Up to the center of the stage. The birth of a true action star, the mysterious Paris who takes on Tom Cruise. Welcome. You will start with your left, please. And now your center. And to your right. Lovely. Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you. You can exit left. Yes, thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Director Christopher McQuarrie to the stage. Welcome. All right, please take center stage. Creative partner to Tom Cruise, Oscar-winning director, Christopher McQuarrie. All right, let's begin with your left. Straight ahead, please. Thank you. Center of the room. All right, and here comes Tom Cruise to join Chris McQuarrie. Thank you, Tom. Okay, let's start with the right. All right, thank you.
Hell yeah.
All right, so we have the members of the cast joining us for a group photo. Please, everyone, step onto the stage. Welcome. If you could stand a little bit closer to one another, that makes for a better group photo. All right. Looks great. Okay, can we start from the left of the room, please? All right. I think we're starting from the right. That's fine. All right, and then now straight ahead to the center of the room. And if you could all turn slightly to your left, please. Left, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And if we could just ask you, Tom, for your last solo shot session, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Everyone, you may leave stage left, and if Tom, you could just stand a little bit more for your solo shot. Thank you, everyone, so much. So much, Tom, giving us that famous Korean heart. Thank you. All right, thank you so much, Tom, and thank you, everyone. That will conclude the photo session. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone. And this concludes the Korean press conference for Mission Impossible.